Gaza health officials say a large number of people were killed after Israel conducted an airstrike on an ambulance convoy. Brian Shook reports.
The Israeli military confirmed they struck the ambulances on Friday, claiming they killed a number of Hamas terrorist operatives. The International Committee of the Red Cross says the convoy was planned with the Gaza Health Ministry and was being used to transport wounded people to more advanced medical facilities in Egypt. The leader of the World Health Organization said he was utterly shocked at the news and reiterated his call for a ceasefire. I'm Brian Shook.
Rabbis and Christian leaders in Israel are calling for a national day of prayer for Monday. A letter written by Rabbi Yehuda Glick and co-signed by at least a dozen current members of Israel's Knesset asks for the chief rabbinate of Israel to issue a day of prayer to mark 30 days since the October 7th attack by Hamas against Israel. The Knesset is Israel's parliament and is comprised of Jewish and Arab members. Governor Ron DeSantis among the keynote speakers at this afternoon's Florida Freedom Summit in Kissimmee. He touted the state's accomplishments during COVID in education and increasing the number of registered Republicans. His strategy?
We fight for you. In Florida, we win for us. And in Florida, we lead this state to a better future. That's what we've pledged, and that's what we've delivered.
DeSantis trails former President Trump in the latest polling. Trump is expected to take the podium this evening. Meta Platforms founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg is recovering from surgery after suffering a knee injury during a mixed martial arts training session. The 39-year-old creator of Facebook posted on Instagram Saturday that he tore his ACL while training for a fight scheduled early next year. Zuckerberg, who posted a picture of himself in a hospital bed, said that the fight is delayed a bit. He did not make any references to a proposed cage match against Elon Musk, CEO of X, which was formerly known as Twitter.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Tom Hartman.
You know, as crazed as these guys are on the Supreme Court, I think they have learned a lesson from the Dobbs decision, which is that, you know, you can go pretty far. But there is a point that when you exceed that point, it blows up in your face. And they're starting to get a little concerned about that.
The Tom Hartman radio program, weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
In a November 2nd interview on MSNBC, Congressman Dan Goldman, Democrat of New York, blasted House Republicans for holding up U.S. aid to Israel.
They are trying for the first time ever to condition emergency aid to Israel, and in fact to any country that we provide emergency aid to, on some sort of other offset or requirement. And in this case, it's to protect billionaires. And I know for Republicans, this may seem like a political game, but I can tell you for those of us who are Jewish in America and around the world, this is no game. There are more than 400 members of the House who would support a straight Israel aid package. But because of this political gamesmanship, the Republicans are trying to set a terrible precedent and use Israel as a political ploy.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
The following program, Collaboraction Radio, is sponsored by Collaboraction, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
joining us at Collaboration Radio. We're here on WCPT 820 AM, Chicago's progressive talk radio, or as Melissa likes to call it,
wow, color people time.
We're also streaming live on Facebook and WCPT.com, or we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all the places you get your digital stuff. So if you are somewhere in the future and you're listening to this, hello.
Hello.
I'm Anthony Mosley, your host today. Carla Stillwell is not with us. So
she's still alive, though.
Let's take a moment of connection to Carla. Melissa, will you lead us?
The ethers welcome the eternal, ethereal spirit of Carla Stillwell.
I feel her presence. And they are gifts of many. Carla, I hope you're listening to this so that maybe you'll call us later.
I feel your judgment.
Much love, Carla. Hope you're feeling good.
We've got so much good things. I'm glad Carla is actually resting, because there's so much to be hyped for this month, especially in Collaboration news, which I'm sure will all come out. But rest up, baby girl, because we got a lot of partying to do this month.
Yeah, we got a party in 7 days to do. Mm-hmm. And the last 3 galas, Carla and I have accidentally matched clothing.
No way.
I don't think that was an accident. That's your kindred spirit.
We're just in step like that, and then we break out to some 90s hip-hop and start doing that Belle Biv DeVoe dance move. And that's what we do here on Collaboration Radio, where you can catch us every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Central Time for the foreseeable future, or as long as there is injustice in the world, which is probably another lifetime at least, because we ain't civilized yet. Humanity is not fully cooked yet.
No, we're definitely flunking. We've not advanced.
It's a pass-fail course. You only have to get a D-.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're not there yet. There's too much silliness still happening, but not here in the studio, except for whatever knobs that Henry is pulling and chucking.
Shout out to producer Henry. I like to call him DJ Hank. Got it.
So Melissa and Flaco in the studio together. If you don't know,
we're a couple.
Now you know.
Hilarious.
Oh my! So this is I posted on Facebook that we were doing the show, and this is actually our first time doing not an interview as a couple, but doing an interview together at the same time, and we are officially coupled. So I'm like, someone's gonna spill today.
Henry, let's take 5 and let these two have a little time together, shall we?
Sounds good.
Oh, could you imagine the audio? Let's just see what happens. Okay.
People have been waiting for this show.
Wait, let me do some Foley. Okay, have fun. Come on. Let's go, Henry. Walk, walk, walk.
Flaco just comes along for the ride. He's here for the entertainment. How do you feel about the first time we get to do a radio show together?
It's great. I feel roped into something. I don't know what it is.
That's the Anthony Mosley. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, people automatically are automatically booking me. They're booking the duo. They'll be like, Melissa, come do this. Bring Flaco. I'm like, he's got things to do. He's running the salsa scene in Chicago right now.
It's funny.
Well, you guys are an awesome couple, and it totally makes sense in some poetic, perfect kind of way. And
you two have a bigger history than anything.
Who, Flaco and I?
Yeah.
Well, we had a party we had to pause, unfortunately, for a tragic event in Martha's Vineyard.
Man,
and we were about to go off, so I kind of feel like we still have to finish
we got some unfinished business.
And as you know, I tried to invite you over for dinner to my house. My wife is in California. She's like, you cannot have that couple over to our house without me there, period. I'm like, can we just hang out on the back deck?
Mrs. Sandy D. Shout out to Sandy D.
Yeah, she had reading of one of her new pieces in Florida last week, her piece, Hundreds and Hundreds of Stars, which is a beautiful, gorgeous, painful piece at Orlando Shakespeare. This is Sandra Delgado, founding company member of Collaboration, and my wife. Mm-hmm. And now she's out at Cal State Fullerton doing a workshop of her new play with music called Boys and the Nuns, and it's about how Catholic sisters were at the front line of the gay rights movement in the 80s. And it has a house music kind of background.
Sounds cool.
And based on a real nun who was like at the front line, and when it came down to it, pressured the aldermen to like do the right thing after they failed twice.
Right.
You were gay, lesbian, queer, you had AIDS, you could be fired without cause, without able to get unemployment. You could be evicted from your home, and many were, and many died after they were evicted. This is the end of their life from an epidemic that a lot of people in this country were not paying attention to. And it actually took a lot of women to get the country to even pay attention to the AIDS epidemic. But that's Boys and the Nuns, so that's what she's doing. Nice. But let me tell you about these two amazing people here. So Melissa DuPrey is a multidisciplinary performer, comic, producer, musician, and playwright, rooted in the Puerto Rican community of Humboldt Park, Chicago. She's a critically acclaimed solo artist whose self-produced work spans over a decade. Her 5 full-length solo plays highlight the intersections of the diasporic blackness, queerness, healing, liberation, and sexuality that she is from. She's also a community organizer and spiritualist who launched the Good Grief Project in 2020, an extension of the social justice component from her solo play, Good Grief, where communities of color are connected to local, accessible, and multidisciplinary mental and spiritual wellness practitioners of color in Chicago. She's a seasoned stand-up comic, regular MC of The Fly Honey Show, and she will be the MC of Collaboration's Utopian Ball on November 11th.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Did you pick steak or salmon or veggie?
I got the menu, and then I realized I never invited my partner and be like, hey, babe.
Wow.
Did I tell you you're my date to this very expensive? And then when I got the menu, I was like, damn, I should have asked for more money.
I love it.
Well, we learned
the hard way. That's the story of our lives.
We learned the hard way that people will only give you so much money unless the food is at that next level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's how classist it all still is.
Right.
Yeah,
Very
that makes
much
sense.
so, yeah.
You're like, oh, you really need the money?
What are you serving?
Right.
No. Yeah,
you really need the money.
Honey,
no, we don't got that.
Honey, we would have paid at least $500 for this meal.
Right, exactly. And so when I got the menu, I turned to my partner. I was like, oh, this is what we typically do. You get the salmon, I'll get the chicken, and then we split.
Yeah.
But then I didn't even tell him. I forgot.
But also, we have no chicken on the menu.
Yeah.
That is a Carla thing.
Yeah.
And Carla does
no aviaries.
But yeah, we have salmon, or we have Manhattan cut strip loin.
Oof. That's the strip loin. That's him. He's all meat.
Yeah. All right. Excellent.
Public.
And when you say he... Oh, wait, I have more here. Melissa was recently seen as the recurring character on How to Die Alone. Dr. Sarah Ortiz for 2 seasons on Grey's Anatomy. I'm just so happy you came home, too.
Same.
I remember thinking, like, I hope we didn't lose her.
No, you'll never lose me to LA. LA is trash.
She was also on Empire, and her theater credits include works at the great companies Teatro Vista, Free Street, Urban Theater Company, Teatro Luna, and a bunch of other companies. She's really a Chicago treasure, and we're psyched to have her on the show.
Thank you. And shout out to 3 Arts.
And she's with 3 Arts. And, Sandra was nominated 5 times before she got it.
Yeah, no, so. I know. They make it impossible. And they're like, Sandra's is on a mural on a building. Come on.
I guess I should take this opportunity to announce that I just received the 3 Arts award. I'm sorry.
You can't just say that.
I'm kidding. She'd be like, "That's it."
I'm so
Congratulations, that's amazing. And you didn't even
She'd move out of Chicago.
You could take a lift home.
Exactly.
So if you don't know, the Three Arts is a prestigious award.
Okay, prestigious.
And competitive. You have to be not just being nominated is an honor, and then you have to write
That's
a
what they
pretty
say.
lengthy application that's kind of like a short play of its own.
Basically, write your novel.
And then you know, some folks, you know, get nominated many times. It's usually a sign that you will win one day. It's just the when that's hard. And sometimes, you know, you start hoping for that money, you know? And you're like going, I might have this thing come in. And then you don't get it. And then you don't get it again. And then you don't get it again. And then when you stop caring, all of a sudden you get it.
Exactly. And you write in your grant, F you and all the people you brought in outside of Chicago to equate Chicago's art scene. But I wouldn't be surprised, like the one day that Flaco does apply for the 3 Arts, he writes 2 sentences and he will absolutely win just based off of Flaco being Flaco because he's that awesome. Like people just know Flaco. I don't think Chicago knows Flaco as much.
They're getting to know him real quick.
Yeah.
Flaco Navaja is a singer, poet, actor, born and raised in the Bronx. He sings in both Spanish and English, or at least that's what they said on his IMDb. And he's toured with various groups across the globe. His original style of poetry combines singing, beatboxing, and spoken word. He was the host of the legendary open mic showcase All That Hip Hop, Poetry, and Jazz at the famous New Yorican Poets Cafe. In 2003, he toured internationally with the Tony Award-winning Russell Simmons Def Poetry Jam. And in 2022, he shared his one-man show backed by a full band, Evolution of a Sonero, in both Chicago and L.A. And it said that he made
J-Lo cry
and Ben Affleck sweat all over the place. Sweating all over the place.
soon.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
So we sometimes, you know, we do the artist spotlight, and we thought we'd just give both of these amazing Chicago artists, New York via Chicago, a chance to just share a little bit of their work. So let's go ahead and who wants to go first?
Sure.
And these two people, I mean, it's like they have trunks of material that they can pull out of their brain at any point, because Melissa's just got she generates in real time, and Flaco just seems like he's always on, ready to go.
Cool. Porque soy así, me llaman loco. Nadie sabe mi dolor, es que me conocen poco. Loco, loco voy por la vida. Canto, río y sufro también. Soy humano y todo me pasa. Por eso siempre yo loco estaré. Y cada día más loco seré. Ay, cómo lo escupieron, cómo lo empujaron, cómo lo escupieron a crucificar. Si viéramos bien al mundo y a nuestro pueblo, mi hermano, no existiera lo rotundo, ni existiera la creencia, cada cabeza es su mundo, con los santos no se juega. Tropical breezes soothe the soul as Héctor Lavoe te canta de un amor que es imposible. The lyrics take you there, feeling like you're him, knowing his pain, understanding his pleasure. Y como llegaste a mí, aléjate, bandolera. Yo soy el cantante, mi gente, ustedes. His crowd-moving voice grabs attention quicker than his ruffled tuxedo and big bow tie. El rey del puntualidad, as tragic as his life may have been, is salsa. He is rumba. He is bomba y plena. He is música jíbara. He is music. The kind of music that exists beyond existence. The kind of music that makes you want to dance, moving your feet from left to right, up and down in perfectly synchronized movement, far more complex than anything learned in dance school, yet simple enough for anyone to do. The stories told through the sounds of Willie Colon's trombone. Create illusions in your mind, making you return to La Isla. Walking hand in hand with Celia Cruz. Bemba Colora. Cracking jokes with Cheito Feliciano. Anacaona, Arento de Anacaona. Talking politics with Ismael Rivera. De la tumba quiero irme, no sé cuándo pasará. That's what salsa does to you. And that is why Héctor Lavoe is and always will be el cantante de los cantantes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
They want our stories. They need our stories. They capitalize on our stories. They cannot survive without our stories. The burden of the artist has always been to transmute what is happening in real time, in real life, and filter it through our vessel, through our mind, through our words, and give it back to you so you can consume it, so you can believe it, so you can finally view it as your own. The burden of the artist has always been to make the tragic beautiful, to make the tragic funny, to make the tragic feel more tragic, and time and again, they need us. Right now, our art can't even feed us. We can't even survive on our own livelihood right now. And they have the nerve to come back to the table with a shittier deal than we started before, because why? They think that they don't need us. They think that only we can feed them, and that's just not the case. I've been a storyteller all my life. I am a master of performed narrative, where I literally take the tools of bochinche and I turn it into monologue, and I turn it into narrative, and I turn it into stage work, and they think that they don't need us. And that couldn't be further from the truth. They need our stories. What they're afraid of the most is that we start painting heroes in different colors, and we start putting ourselves where they used to be. There's still power in all of this struggle. There's still power in all of this art making. And at the end of the day, we're still enslaved by who gets the dollar for our art, for our stories. And we're the ones having to live. What this strike has meant for me in the last 3 months of where do I eat? How do I pay my bills? Do I have a job left? This strike has reminded me that I still need to live. This strike has reminded me that my worth and my value can never be equated by the people who are consuming it and using it to capitalize for themselves. I will never lend my voice, my pain, my experience outside of myself. It has to be for me. It has to be for us. And it has to topple the system. We're not asking the CEO of Disney to be realistic in who and how to monetize streaming. We're asking them to be revolutionary and to be equitable and to give the dollars back to the artists who are making these things possible. We've made the world possible. Why do you think the Greek Parthenons were filled with our stories? Like, art making goes as back as science, as back as math. It's prehistoric. It is our humanity. It is the way that we continue to tell our stories and archive our history. Without us, we don't exist as people. So if you wanted to put a dollar amount on it, put every dollar amount on it. Because at the end of the day, you need our stories.
Awesome. Thank you both. Let's start there. Capitalism has built a system in which these people climb a corporate ladder to a position that gives them the power to kill, hurt, silence, erase the actual creators of the mountain that they scaled. And then you hear about these companies laying off people. Now they are starting to suffer. You know, we talked about we're not civilized yet as a people, city, country, planet. And if you believe in the power of fractals and how things go infinite in both directions, you know, you don't have to look around very far to see this lack of understanding, value, and respect for the people who tell the stories that not only move us forward, but keep us from forgetting our past.
Right, right. And so we have to remember that there are dual conversations happening, especially around the arts economy, right? And it is that there's the arts and then there's the economy. Hollywood in itself is an industry. We've never forgotten that Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer has been one of the oldest production houses since the dawn of film. And now, recently, in months' time, watch an MGM film and they're now starting to zoom in on the placard, Arts for Art's Sake. It's right at the top of their emblem in Latin, right? They just started highlighting that at the MGM logo, and it's really not the case. It's arts for business sake. In every single downfall of the economy in the history of America, Hollywood has never been collapsed by it. Hollywood survived the Great Depression. Hollywood has survived the bubble. Hollywood has survived this current silent depression. They're losing $300 million a day, but yet they are still not collapsing. Why? Because it's an insular economy and it's not connected to the government. It's not connected to this economy. It is isolated. It is self-sustaining. They're not worried about whether or not 160,000 artists are going to want more money. They're going to find out that the technology that has advanced to make them more money, that we deserve a part of it, that we deserve to have access to it, because our art is what's keeping things original. Our art is making that economy money. Are the new voices that are creating the narratives, that are creating TV shows, that are creating original new work. This is why Marvel and DC are like, there's no end to it, right? Martin Scorsese is like, man, get away from these comics. Where's the original screenplays? It would take so much original art and content to generate that level of originality. We're missing that. The whole system is on the verge of being cookie cutter and boxed because it's self-sustaining. Whatever's going to generate the most money, because people are also consuming at an incredible rate. We're binging shows in 2 days that took over a year to make. It's incredible, and it's just we can't keep up with it.
You know what I'm waiting for is when are the people that never have been given the power of the camera going to start using these phones and making content beyond TikTok? You know, and it's happening a little bit. But I do think that the tide comes in and out, and, you know, there has to be some kind of content revolution. I mean, maybe it is TikTok, but
yeah, I mean, that short form is getting shorter and shorter, and it's when young people are given the opportunity to monetize content that doesn't have much artistic value or anything, but they can make money off of it, they're going to focus their creative energies on these little 30-second videos that
kind of like a fractal of Hollywood.
Yes.
Mini Hollywoods.
Yeah.
You know, but so what about it? Is it back to this concept of still not being civilized because of just the amount of greed we have in our culture and selfishness?
Overindulgence and access to everything.
And isn't
Spoiled.
that part of the fight of good versus evil, of love versus hate, is when will we, learn to see ourselves in each other?
I mean, yes, and also it's just the dichotomy is not that simple. I think that there's a lot of fight for autonomy. Like, we should be able to master our own narratives and also be compensated for our own narratives. We shouldn't be able to, sell our narratives to the lowest bidder because that's the best deal that we're going to get. We have very few bargaining tools and very little awareness of how much leverage we have as people. And that's across the board. I have found that to be true in activism. I have found that to be true in the arts. I have found that to be true in policy, that people are not aware of the autonomy that they actually have once we are in solidarity with each other.
Which also shows up at the elections.
Mm-hmm.
And the apathy that is, permeates our culture to the point that a lot of people, their vote is to not vote, to take their voice out of the system overall because they don't believe in it.
Well, these elections are all built on rhetoric. I mean, rhetoric. Like, narrative is a powerful tool. Rhetoric will start a Holocaust. Rhetoric is persuasive speech. And I remember being so gung-ho for Brandon, and like really he impassioned people, and people led his election. Like, elections are led by what we believe. It's not on the outcome of what you actually can do in policy. Because if we were to look at that, we'd be like, oh, dang. Where's what you promised? And that goes for every politician. Where is what you promised?
Yeah, once you get in, it's just so difficult to. There are all these other variables working against every person that has whatever good intentions they may have.
Yeah, and you gotta air those good intentions out, frequently to get in.
Yeah,
and then
I think in terms of like arts and creativity and the position that we are, I feel like us as consumers, going back to your point about us not kind of realizing the power that we have as a people, if the consumers really took control over what they consume or how. Which is so easy to say. Mm-hmm. Like this strike as an actor and as an artist has really challenged me to observe that thing. Like, am I willing to put my money where my mouth is? Like, we say, all right, we're fighting for this conglomerate of producers of corporations that control these streaming platforms and control the content that we consume, right? And we're like, we need to hurt them where their pockets, hurt them where it hurts the most in their pockets. Let's all cancel our Netflix subscriptions.
We're on strike. We're all only watching Netflix. We're catching up on shows. I'm catching up on the stuff that I didn't get hired for.
Man.
Like,
I don't
hard.
watch those that I didn't get hired for. She's lying for. And
call me out then. I still haven't watched The Bear. I hear it's a good show.
So do you know
whatever?
Dolores Roach?
Of course you know Kimberly Sr.
Yes.
Who's the original founder of Collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
Her younger brother, Josh Sr., is the executive producer of The Bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that still didn't give me a chance.
Get him on the phone right now.
And of course, our friend JQ.
Oh yeah.
Did all the music for The Bear.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the Q brothers are close to their family. Their family to Chicago.
Yes, they are.
Those are the dudes from the Bomedy of Everest?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, GQ will be DJing the party next weekend. He's all excited.
Maybe that's why I forgot to tell you.
See Melissa.
Wait till I see that motherfucker. No, okay.
Man, the guy has got like, I must have all of his body fat because that guy.
So
he's
lean.
The one that I met.
He's so lean because he be running 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like that man.
I did a musical back in. I don't know how long ago.
Oh yeah.
It's called The Seven. Well, there was a dude named Pastel Pringle.
Yes.
great actor and performer.
Yes.
And I think he was down with the Bama de Rivera's crew.
He's a Q brother.
I met GQ through him in La Jolla down in San Diego.
Of course you did.
In La Jolla Playhouse.
I'm telling you.
And Flaco and I met in Martha's Vineyard at a workshop.
I think you just like saying Martha's Vineyard.
That was good. I had a funny experience in Martha's Vineyard. We rented bicycles, and big shout out to my boy Lou Moreno from Intar. And we had a crew of us rented bicycles, and we were riding around Martha's Vineyard. And then and at one point we passed by this enormous mansion with like a driveway, a mile-long driveway type thing, right? And I jokingly turned off into the driveway, and I was like, all right, y'all, this is my house, man. I'll see y'all later. And then at that very moment, this older gentleman riding a four-wheel bicycle thingy, pedaling, this older gentleman goes, no, bicycle. That's my bike. That's my house. And he turns in, and it was Henry Louis Gates.
Yeah.
Like, yo, that was Skip Gates.
Right.
He's like, nah, shorty, that's my house.
That's kind of how it goes down at Martha's Vineyard.
That was amazing.
But, and that was an amazing crew of people that were together. LP Funk was there.
Yeah, my man.
And,
that was the writer of the show that I was workshopping, Lucas Pompeius.
And the gentleman who played Fela on Broadway, what is his name?
Kevin Mambo.
Oh, Kevin Mambo.
He's so good at names. It makes me so mad. I can't remember my uncle.
GQ and I,
that's the guy I met.
We're down in Austin, Kitty Limits together. I MC the kids stage down there.
That's awesome.
And we were down there hanging out, and I jumped into the Barton Springs, which is a natural springs, swimming with the Q brothers, and I got an ear infection from that.
No way.
From that thing.
Funny.
Okay, let's switch it up. Melissa, what is your origin story?
Nice.
How did you become this person you are today?
Well, both my parents are Leos, so there's that.
There's that.
Good genes. Well, it truly is one of those things where when stars align, it's a combination of dysfunction, adventure, and pain and joy, and all of those things encapsulating like an incredible mother-daughter relationship. My mother really taught me a little bit of everything this world had to offer, and I feel like I was raised as a really well-rounded individual by having equal amounts of joy, adventure, dysfunction, pain, and I've just had a unique upbringing, and I'm was always proud to be a Chicago Boricua. I feel like that is a very unique identity. New Yorkers, that you could tell them a mile away. Diasporically, that's what unites us as Puerto Ricans, but a Chicago Boricua is, we have all of the tropical identity plus Motown, plus this sense of reality, this, salt of the earth kind of people. And wherever I go, I bring all of those identities with me. And I think that people really value someone who sees and embodies all of their intersections at once. But that's just like a broad strokes of, if people know me, they know that I don't code switch. I am who I am in every single room. And that has come from being an authentic person. I am one of several people like me who have gone through a lot and have lived to tell the stories. I'm a survivor. I have an incredible family. They all have their own stories. I'm just now starting to discover magic within myself and magic in the world as a spiritualist, and I've never limited myself to one particular kind of storyteller. I'm a musician, I'm a poet, I'm a dancer, I'm an actor, and I just knew that performance in and of itself was the thing that had to drive me. I was never really fixed on just one thing. I knew acting was a thing, but until I got to Chicago, I didn't know that there were so many different kinds of performance, so many different ways to perform narrative. And I think that that's what really allowed me to become the artist I am, is that Chicago allowed me the ability to explore as many different types of performance as I had available to my identity. So if I feel like I'm a culture purveyor, I have bomba. If I feel like I'm a comedian, I have stand-up, not sketch. We don't do sketch. We don't do improv. I do stand-up comedy. So like that's that long monologue form. So I just feel really open to all types of storytelling because we are all multifaceted people. And I'm a Chicago Boricua till I die.
So who's your greatest artistic mentor or influencer?
Oh, man. You know, for the longest time, it was John Leguizamo. It was John Leguizamo because he was the first one in my understanding, and I grew up watching in Living Color. I grew up watching Living Color. I also grew up watching all of these like 1950s and 60s TV shows. And John Leguizamo for me was the first that you can tell he was classically trained as an actor and performer, and then he was bringing all this Latina narrative to the forefront as a solo artist. So it looked like a solo play, and it felt like comedy, and it felt like, you know, slapstick. It felt very Lucille Ball. And he was the first person where I was like, he embodies everything that I would want to work towards, and I did.
And he was executive producer on the Q Brothers off-Broadway production of Othello, the remix.
Oh, really?
Oh, I did not know that.
Because him and G go way back, and he always said to G, if you never ever need anything, let me know.
Nice.
And G said, yeah, okay, thanks, man, you know. And then one day, 15 years later, G's like,
phone call.
Yeah, and he answered the call.
Great.
And it was John Leguizamo Presents.
Yeah, good on him.
What about you? What happened in this world to make this Flaco?
Man, whose fault is that?
Man, I'm wondering the same thing.
Well, I'm the youngest of 5, and on paper, I come from a very exceptional family. My dad's a marathoner, ran over 100 miles a week for many, many years. After the age of 45, ran over 65 marathons, working a full-time job in a hospital, and crazy. My mom, pillar of stone in 5 feet and 80 pounds, and really, raised us, supported us. My dad worked hardcore, and my mom was, the one that kept it all together. She was also the lunch lady in an elementary school. My oldest sister left home at 18. She was a fashion model. She lived all over the world. Lived in Paris, was on the cover of magazines, Mademoiselle, and Vogue International, things like that. My other sister is a novelist, currently lives in Los Angeles, has published various novels. Her first novel was produced by Simon & Schuster. It's called The Education of Margot Sanchez. Her name is Lilium Rivera. And my oldest brother, Hector Luis Rivera Jr., used to live in Chicago, is an activist, bomba music practitioner, poet, was the first spoken word artist I ever saw, and my first original inspiration to kind of do this type of stuff. And then my other brother, Edgar, who is a guidance counselor and my best bud and confidant. So I kind of fell into this. Coming from that family, I struggled to find my place in it all. You know what I mean? I struggled to get attention. I struggled to fill whatever hole. But then I also received all these different influences, their musical tastes, their experiences. So, my sister was taking me to the West Village in Manhattan as a little kid. So I was experiencing like punk rock culture or whatever. My older brother, Hector, was big in like electric guitar, so I was listening to like The Doors and Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin as a little kid, you know. And then at one point, my older brother goes off to Cornell University, meets his best friend at the time, brings that dude home to and to visit us. That dude happens to be the son of Eldridge Cleaver, former Black Panther, the author of the book Soul on Ice. Maceo Cleaver, may he rest in peace. So I was a kid that at that age, I was 13 years old. I was a very scared, skinny little kid. You know what I mean? I had these fantasies of being Rambo and the hero because of the fear that I had. So my fantasy life was very 80s action hero guy. You know, I wanted to be in the Marines. I wanted to kind of be the opposite of this timid dude. And then I meet these my Maceo, and I overhear their conversations about revolution and all this stuff. And I was a fly on the wall, and I ended up kind of stealing certain books and reading Soul on Ice and reading Pedagogy of the Oppressed and Prisoners of Colonialism, The Struggle for Justice in Puerto Rico. So then I went from being a God Bless America kid to a black militant. Right? And I stopped playing basketball and shit. My boys would be like, yo, let's play ball. I'd be like, nah, bro. Are there any white coaches? They're all white coaches. There's no black coaches. Stupid shit like that.
You got radicalized in your own kitchen.
Super. Right. And then eventually, when I became 18, at my 18th year, I had a very tumultuous, a very difficult year. And at the time, I was working in this community organization, and my boss gave me a journal. My grandmother passed away. My boss gives me a journal, and she says, write what you feel. I wrote a poem for my grandmother. My brother Edgar happened to be dating this chick who was a spoken word artist, and she was going to do a poetry reading at this bar near Yankee Stadium in the Bronx called the Newsroom. The Newsroom doesn't exist anymore. I went there. I wasn't supposed to be in this bar. I was underage, but I go. And I get up to sign on my name on the open mic, and that's when the name Flaco Navaja came back to me. I'll give you a quick brief breakdown of how I got that name. And I signed my name on that open mic. It just so happened that in that room happened to be pioneers of the spoken word scene in New York, pioneers from the New York Poets Cafe. There happened to be a dude by the name of Reggie Gaines there. Reggie Gaines wrote the book of Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk on Broadway.
The noise and the funk.
The Mildred Ruiz and Steven Sapp from Universes, that's where I met them that particular day. There was a guy named Keith Roach who was the host of a legendary open mic at the New York Poets Cafe. So all these people saw me, gave me all this positive encouragement. I stood out because I was this skinny little Puerto Rican kid singing Hector Lavoe tunes at 18 and then doing poems about that. And yeah, man, and that was the beginning of Flaco Navaja. Sorry for such a long-winded, crazy journey story.
There are no coincidences.
Yeah.
You know, if you want apples, at some point you have to plant an apple seed. Mm-hmm. And if you plant an apple seed, you don't get an orange. Those seeds have been planted, and it sounds like that fruit got picked that day at the news.
As the newsroom.
The newsroom.
And now I'm making apple pies.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Proud of you,
Henry, what's that? We have a caller?
We have a prank caller?
We have Carla on the line.
Carla, rep your hood. Where you from?
South Side.
South Side, baby. South Side, baby. How you feeling, boo?
I am not at my best. I wasn't until I heard your voice, Melissa DeGrasse.
Hi.
My love.
My love.
I just wanted to call in and say, I'm so excited about next week.
Me too, girl. I was trying to fit into my dress.
Well, at least you have a dress.
Well, don't worry. No matter what you wear, you'll be matching with Anthony.
Did he tell y'all that we have accidentally matched at everything? And it's like we were trying to talk about it. I was like, no. Just pick what you're going to wear. I'm going to wear what I'm going to wear. You're going to wear. And we'll probably have on the same thing because we're twins now. We're cousins. Identical cousins.
Y'all can. Did you just hear of like Flaco's origin story? It just, I gotta write a movie about it.
No, I did, and it's so funny because what I gather, Flaco, is that you are a youngest in a family full of folks. Mm-hmm. You're a younger. I'm the baby too. My sisters were 19, 18, and 8 years older than me. My sister that's 8 years older than me taught me how to read. Like, so I know that whole like journey when those older ones decide, I'm just gonna take the kid with me. I'm gonna take this little kid.
Yeah. Like, there was a moment when they did that, and I think it died out at like 13 when I became an obnoxious like 13-year-old. They were just like, all right, that's enough for us.
Stealing the thunder.
And now they had to just get used to it, huh?
Yeah. My older sister was she didn't have any children, so me becoming a teenager just was a whole like, I have a little girl now, so she would dress me up and it was fine. So I didn't get kicked out by her. The other two, they weren't feeling me. Mm-hmm. But it's so funny how our families and our background just shape everything we do, and it's so important to have a hold on that and know where you come from.
Absolutely. For better or worse, one of the things that I talk about with young people when I do any type of like writing workshops or anything, one of the biggest or most successful exercises that I use is literally writing a list of your your 10 most influential experiences, good or bad. And if you ever are feeling like you have writer's block, look at that list. Something's going to spark. Right. You know what I mean? And it also, if you do that list periodically, you're going to realize,
man, what a life.
Yeah. The life, and also what you find important may change now and different. The hold this experience may have had on you in your past may not anymore. Mm-hmm. You may, that rejection from that one partner doesn't sting anymore. Right. Maybe.
Right.
We get spoiled with the gift of being alive. Mm-hmm. It's like just to be born is 1 in a trillion. So, so the chance that 4 of us would be on this call together is 1 in a trillion to the 4th power. Yeah. It's really... It's just a miracle.
I've said this before to many people. Anytime you meet a black person you've met in America, you've met an actual miracle. Any of us who, like my DNA, when I had it done, is 86% African. The fact that through the Middle Passage, through slavery, through Jim Crow, through...
The list goes on, and it's continuing to be added to,
The fact that you meet a black person in America, in the Caribbean, the fact that we exist is astonishing.
Yeah.
It is a miracle.
Because we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't. And here's the other thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to hang up. I'm going to let y'all close it out, because I just interrupted everything.
No,
you were part of the program.
I bust through like that.
We conjured you, actually. Melissa welcomed you into the top of the show. You've been here the whole time. So
I summoned you.
We just expected you to. You were probably like, you probably felt that you said,
let me call
in. Yeah.
I did. I looked at the clock. I said I was calling in at 4:40. Yeah, let me do it. Look, this is what, Flaco, I think it's so important what you said about the way you teach people to write, because I tell young writers there's no such thing as writer's block.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Writer's block is a myth.
Mm-hmm.
What you're focused on is something that's not important to you, so you can't write it.
Yeah,
that's absolutely right.
So that story, whatever that is, throw that away, because that's not what your spirit is trying to do. that's why you can't write it.
You know, can I just jump on that real quick, because I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you. And speaking of spirit, what I think that this strike is also allowing us is to reconnect with the creative spirit in all of us that we have been having a transactional relationship with when we're talking about producing, right? Like, artists are subjected to production and not creation. And so many times a lot of people say artist block, and I'm like, no, your spirit is just tired. Your spirit that gives you this creativity, your spirit that informs you, your spirit that actually is vesseling through you is tired of you not giving back to spirit. And so when we actually sit with ourselves, we're sitting with our spirit, we're regenerating, we're renewing, we're actually giving back to that, we're being grateful, we're just allowing to rest. The rest and recovery and the renewal is us saying thank you to creative spirit for getting us as far as we've gotten, because once we get back into those writers' room, all we're doing is asking creative spirit to generate, and that's not what that's not what they were meant for. We were meant to create, not produce.
That makes sense.
That is snapping fingers, waving hands, as in church waving, like, yay!
Oh, yeah. Carla, thanks for calling in.
Thanks, Carla. We'll see you next week. Take care of yourself. Love
Carla.
you.
See you soon.
As we wrap up here, Melissa, you go first. What do you got working? How can people follow you? What do you want to plug?
Man, do y'all know I'm a professor?
Nice.
I teach MFA at Randolph College, and I am currently in conversations at DePaul. Was going to teach comedy, but their department got swallowed up for multiple reasons. But I am very passionate about teaching. I have been doing my own workshops on camera, auditioning, acting. I just taught at NYU. I taught a master acting class at NYU. So, you know, while I can't talk about what could be going up, I will talk about what I'm doing to survive, and that is education. I'm still emceeing, so if y'all have a foundation, a gala, a fundraiser, I'm still very much available for hire. And I am writing. I am taking my time to write. I'm taking my time to create, and I'm very excited for the things that'll come up in 2024 when the strike is over. You'll see what I created in 2023 in Canada with Natasha Rothwell.
Boom.
And if someone wants to hire you, where do they go? Facebook, Instagram?
No, no, go to www.melissadupre.com. You'll see my brochures, you'll see my services, and you'll see a booking page where you can just inquire and we can have a conversation. But please follow me on Instagram, because I am a blue check now, and I am more important than anybody in this room.
Wow.
What about you, Flaco? What you got going on?
She really feels that. I got.
She does.
I'm doing well. Big shout out to the Puerto Rican Cultural Center. So I moved to Chicago about a year, almost 2 years ago now.
Shout out Mikey Okendo, by the way.
Yeah, my man Mikey O was my first connection to Chicago, and I couldn't have prayed for a softer landing during a difficult transition. In that 2 years, I started working with the Puerto Rican Cultural Center in a full-time capacity. I work with their violence prevention and intervention department. Big shout out to their re-entry program, which is dealing with helping ex-violent offenders that are coming back to the hood, and helping them get them services so that they don't return, so they stay with us. That's what I'm working on, the day job. On the artistic side, you can catch me tonight, November 4th, at Brothers, Burdders, right on the corner of Pulaski and Addison. And I'm going to be starting a musical residency at this spot with my band, the Razorblades, Flaco Navaja and the Razorblades. And I'm going to be there. It's looking like the first and third Saturday of every month. So this month I'm going to be there the 4th and the 18th. Yeah, and then after your gala that night at like 11:30, I'm going to be performing at a spot in Irving Park called Michela's, and just doing a lot of music stuff. Doing a lot of music stuff and trying to record this year, and also continue to incubate this next solo show that I've been kind of incubating in my head.
And if his voice sounds familiar, Flaco Navaja also sings the theme music to Alma's Way. And he has sung on multiple soundtracks. We're downplaying a lot of it. So, you might see him on several voiceovers coming up. Like, he is an incredibly talented voiceover artist as well. So while he's doing all of this live musical performances, his talent knows no bounds. But if you have not seen Flaco sing live, Michela's, Brothers, Gamers
Hall.
What time is it tonight at Brothers?
At Brothers, I start at 9. Two
30-minute sets. It's one to really see. You have to see Flaco perform.
You do.
The music is next level, and it brings a lot of poetry into his sets.
And he's very comfortable with the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kind of like, you take us away. Thank you both so much for joining us. You're both amazing, beautiful.
Thank you for having us, Anthony. Thank you for sharing your platform, and congratulations.
You can catch me on Instagram, Flaco Navaja on Instagram.
Also has a blue check.
So next week we'll be running the show we pre-taped yesterday with Eric Williams of the Silver Room and Lonnie Edwards talking about their new film 25.